Hey, good morning, everybody. Boy, it's another beautiful day here in Southern Connecticut to be out on a road bike. Today is November 12th. We're 1 week away from Thanksgiving, if you could believe it. And I'm out on a ride by myself this morning. Susan has some appointments and couldn't come along for a ride this morning. And that's too bad because she's missing a great day to be out here. This morning I'm going to be talking a little bit about year-end things that are going through my mind in terms of reflection on things like personal records and things related to bikes and upgrades and things like that. So that's the discussion, that's the topic this morning. Stay tuned for this video, subscribe and like at the end if you feel like it. Don't forget that you can leave comments and questions below and I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks again for watching this morning and hope to see you again soon. Take care. Okay, I think I'm going to head right. And head over to Hoadley Point. I do notice that it's a little bit colder right now. I think the wind has picked up just a bit. Probably has changed direction. Either that, I may have had a tailwind coming in out this morning and now running back into a headwind. Regardless, just a little bit cooler than what it was before. So obviously, or not obviously, today is November 12th and we are getting pretty close to the end of the riding season outside. Although, as I've mentioned several times, Susan and I are both kind of committed to taking at least one ride a week outdoors, weather permitting, so long as there isn't snow or ice on the roads. We can get out here and at least do a 20-mile ride every so often. But with the riding season kind of winding down, I guess it's probably a good time to reflect a little bit on the accomplishments and some of the things that you're happy about having done this last year, whether it be a sportive or some sort of personal record in climbing or distance or something like that. But for me, I think it's also a good time of year to reflect back on your equipment and evaluate just how well it's been working for you, whether or not it's time to do any sort of upgrades, or maybe even just get yourself a brand new bike, something a little outside of the level that you're in now. I've been riding this aluminum entry-level road bike for just a shade over 2 years now, and logged about, I think last check was like 11,400 miles. Over the last 2 years, I've done several upgrades to the bike. Starting with the top, I put on a much shorter stem and a compact handlebar to reduce my reach after having a bike fit. About a year or so ago, I discovered I was probably stretched out a little too far for my physical abilities. When you have a bike fit, they also do an evaluation of how flexible you are. So if you're having trouble bending over any amount at all, you should probably stay away from even being on a road bike. But yeah, so I changed my handlebars. And coincidentally at the time, when I took off the handlebars, you got to take off your shifters. Turns out I had a little trouble with the left shifter that came with the bike originally, so I opted to find a replacement set of shifters, which was a little difficult because my bike's only a 7-speed. It's a 2x7, and as it turns out, I came across a brand called Microshift and installed those shifters, and I love them. I really do. I really like the functionality. There are 2 paddles on each shifter, and the brake lever functions as a brake lever, so you don't move your brake lever around. I like that a lot. I put Shimano wheels on the bike. Shimano WH501, I believe they are. And on those wheels I have gator skin 25 mil tires. I have a 28 in the back. And the reason I don't have a 28 on the front is because I also changed my front fork to a Bontrager carbon fiber fork. And unfortunately, I can't get anything bigger than a 25 millimeter tire in the front. I also replaced the crankset with a Shimano crankset, primarily because the one that came with the bike was a 50/40, and I wanted a 50/34 compact set. And while you can just change out the 40-tooth sprocket for a 34, I found when I took the crank off, or when I attempted to take the crank off, the threads on the inside that allow you to put a tool in there to pop the crank off, all those threads were damaged at the factory. So I said, well, why screw around with it? Just put a different crank on it. And yeah, so, and I guess the last thing is that I also, when I got the carbon fiber fork, I decided to get a carbon fiber seat post. So I guess I ticked off quite a few items there in terms of how much I've updated or changed out components on my bike suited to my personal tastes. But if you're getting into road bike for the first time, if you're getting into road biking for the first time and you're thinking about going inexpensive, on one hand, kind of makes sense, because if it turns out you don't like road biking, you haven't really invested a lot of money in it. Or if you find out that you don't have as much time or the energy to do as much riding as many others, then hell, why spend $2,000 on a higher end bike if you're only going to go out on the bike every other weekend or so for maybe a 20 or 30 mile ride. So an inexpensive bike from that standpoint makes a lot of sense for you. There's some sort of adage that says you ought to spend the amount of money on a bike equal to the amount of miles that you're going to be riding that bike. Makes a lot of sense. So in terms of reflecting back, this year I really didn't do much in the way of upgrades to my bike, other than maintenance items, one of which was putting on a new chain, which I understand is a good idea to do every 1,500, 2,000 miles or so. So I did that. What else? Well, like everybody else, I struggled with a bike seat, so most of my problem struggling with a bike seat was related to a bike fit. So once I got my bike fit kind of nailed down a bit, the seat issues kind of went away. And oddly enough, most of these seat issues seem to be related to the fact that I probably was had the seat much too low for what it should be for my leg length and reach and all that sort of thing. So yeah, this is a good time of year to reflect on things like how your bike has performed for you, and going forward into next year, what sort of improvements you'd like to make, enhancements you'd like to make, or just stick with the bike you have and concentrate on a different aspect of your road biking, whether it be wanting to do longer rides or get going faster, pick up your average speed, or work on your FTP and things of that nature. But yeah, this is a good time of year to start thinking about that stuff and do a reflection. So that's where I am this morning. That's the thoughts that are going through my head. I hope you enjoyed this video this morning. Hey there, birdie. Click and subscribe if you like the video. Leave any comments below, any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.